Hey guys, tonight we are settling into something soft, something quiet, something that whispers rather than shouts. We're drifting back to 1960s America, where the fabric you wore on your body carried weight beyond thread and seam, where a hemline spoke volumes before you ever opened your mouth, where colour, cut and style became a language all their own, a silent broadcast of who you were, what you believed, and where you belonged in a world that was changing faster than anyone could keep up with. Before we begin, I want to say thank you. Thank you for suggesting this topic. You all have the most incredible ideas, the kind that pull us into corners of history we didn't know we needed to revisit. Your suggestions shape this channel in ways I can't fully express, and I am grateful for every single one. If you are enjoying these quiet explorations through time, take a second to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment. Tell me where you are right now, what time it is, and what memory this brings up for you. Oh, and speaking of listening, we are now live on Spotify. You can find the link down in the description. Take us with you wherever you go. Now, get comfortable, really comfortable. Dim the lights if you can. Turn on a fan for that soft hum of white noise. Settle deep into your blankets. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath slow. Because tonight, we are stepping into a decade where what you wore was never just clothing. It was statement, rebellion, tradition, and hope, all stitched together. Have you ever wondered what it felt like to get dressed in 1962, knowing your outfit would be read like a book before you ever spoke? What did it mean to wear white gloves to church, or a miniskirt to a protest, or a Peter Pan collar to a job interview? Did women think about hemlines the way we think about job titles now? Did men really believe a narrow tie could define masculinity? What did it sound like in a department store on a Saturday morning, mothers and daughters debating the morality of sleeveless blouses? What did it smell like inside a boutique selling mod dresses imported from London? And how did it feel, truly feel, to look in the mirror and know the world would judge you not for your words but for your wardrobe? And just like that, it is 1963. The radio's playing something smooth and familiar. Your closet door swings open, revealing rows of carefully chosen garments. The morning sun slants through lace curtains. And you're about to get dressed, not just for yourself, but for a country watching. Let us start with the morning, because that is where it all begins. You wake up in 1963 America, and before you have brushed your teeth or poured your coffee, you're already making decisions that will define your entire day. Your closet is not just storage. It is a wardrobe council, a jury of fabrics waiting to pass judgment on your choices. You stand before it, still groggy, still soft with sleep, and you begin the quiet negotiation between who you want to be and who the world expects you to become. The light from your bedroom window slants across the floor, catching dust particles that float like tiny suspended questions. Your bare feet press against cool linoleum. The house is quiet except for the distant hum of your husband shaving in the bathroom, the faint scrape of his razor against skin, the running water that sounds like a small contained river. Somewhere down the street, a neighbour starts their car. A dog barks twice, then stops. You open the closet door slowly, and the smell hits you first. Mothballs and pressed cotton and the faint ghost of last week's perfume. The hangers are crowded, garments touching garments, each one a different version of you. The pink shirtwaist for volunteer work at the hospital, the navy shift dress for lunch with your mother, the plaid skirt and matching cardigan for running errands, the black cocktail dress pressed and waiting for events you have not yet been invited to. You reach for something, then hesitate. Your hand hovers in the air, fingers extended, uncertain. Because this choice matters more than anyone wants to admit. If you wear the wrong thing today, if you misjudge the occasion or push too far past invisible boundaries, people will notice. They will whisper. They will file it away as evidence of something. Your judgment, your character, your willingness to conform. Your mother taught you this ritual when you were still young enough to believe her. She stood beside you at your own small closet, pulling out dresses with careful hands, explaining in her soft, patient voice what each piece meant. Pastels for spring, dark colours for winter, nothing too tight, nothing too bright, nothing that makes you look like you're trying too hard or not trying at all. She taught you that clothing is not decoration. It is communication. It is the first conversation you have with the world, and you do not get to control how it ends. So you stand here now, 24 years old, married for 3 years, living in a house with 2 bedrooms and a yard, and you're still negotiating, still calculating, still asking yourself, what does today require of me? Where am I going? Who will see me? What do I need them to believe about who I am? Your fingers finally close around a hanger. You pull the dress free, holding it up to the light. It is modest, appropriate, safe. It will not raise eyebrows or spark questions. It will let you move through your day without incident, without judgment, without anyone remembering what you wore at all. And maybe that is the point. Maybe the goal is not to be seen, but to be acceptable, to pass through the world without disturbing it. You lay the dress on the bed. You begin the process of becoming presentable. And somewhere deep inside, so quiet you almost do not hear it, a small voice asks, "What would I wear if no one was watching?" But that is not a question for this morning, so you silence it gently and you get dressed. The shirtwaist dress hangs in your closet like a promise. Buttoned all the way to the collar, cinched at the waist with a narrow belt, falling modestly past your knees. It is the uniform of the respectable woman, the one who volunteers at church socials and bakes casseroles for neighbours. When you wear a shirtwaist, you're saying, I am trustworthy, I am traditional, I belong to the world as it has always been. But here is what no one tells you. Sometimes the shirtwaist dress is not a choice. Sometimes it is a cage tailored to fit perfectly. You button it slowly, starting at the bottom and working your way up. Each button slides through its corresponding hole with a soft click, a small surrender. By the time you reach the collar, you feel it, the gentle pressure at your throat, the fabric sitting just so against your skin, reminding you to sit up straight, to keep your voice measured, to remember your manners. The shirtwaist was designed for functionality. It borrows its structure from men's shirts, practical and crisp, but softens it with darts and a defined waist. It was meant to be the dress of the modern woman, the one who could move between home and volunteer work and social obligations without ever looking out of place. And in that way, it succeeds brilliantly. You can wear a shirtwaist to the grocery store, to a church meeting, to lunch with your mother-in-law, and no one will ever question your choices. But the shirtwaist also tells the world something else. It says you're not interested in fashion, not really. You're not trying to be noticed. You're not making statements or pushing boundaries or experimenting with hemlines. You're steady, reliable, predictable in the best possible way. You thread the belt through the loops, pulling it snug at your waist. The fabric gathers slightly, creating the illusion of an hourglass, even if your body does not naturally form one. This is what the shirtwaist does best. It shapes you into an acceptable silhouette, smoothing out anything too angular or too soft, anything that might read as imperfection. Your mother wore shirtwaist dresses, your aunts wore them. Your neighbour wears one almost every day, rotating between 3 or 4 in different patterns, small florals, gingham checks, muted stripes. They are the uniform of a certain kind of woman, the kind who has accepted her role and wears it without complaint. And sometimes when you're standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes, when you're folding laundry in the afternoon heat, When you're sitting at a PTA meeting listening to someone debate the morality of school dances, you feel the shirtwaist around you like a second skin. You feel its buttons holding you together, its belt reminding you where your body is allowed to expand and where it must stay contained. There is comfort in that, you tell yourself. There is safety in knowing exactly what is expected. The shirtwaist removes guesswork. It offers a template. And in a world that is changing faster than anyone can keep up with, in a decade where young women are starting to wear shorter skirts and brighter colours and clothes that do not apologise, the shirtwaist feels like an anchor. But anchors, you're learning, can also hold you in place when you want to move. You smooth the fabric over your hips, checking your reflection in the mirror. You look appropriate, respectable, exactly like every other woman at the church social, at the volunteer meeting, at the neighbourhood gathering. You look like you belong, and maybe that is enough. Maybe belonging matters more than being seen. Maybe the shirtwaist dress, with all its buttons and structure and quiet compliance, is not a cage at all. Maybe it is just easier to believe that. Then there is the miniskirt, and oh, the miniskirt changes everything. It arrives in America like a whispered dare, short enough to make grandmothers gasp and young women grin. Hemlines rise above the knee, then higher still, until legs become statements and thighs become rebellion. When you wear a miniskirt in 1965, you're not just showing skin. You're announcing that you refuse to be modest, that you refuse to shrink, that the old rules no longer apply to you. The first time you see one, you're not sure what you're looking at. It is in a magazine, a glossy spread of London models posing on city streets, their skirts ending a full 6 inches above their knees. Your mother glances over your shoulder, makes a soft sound of disapproval, and turns the page. But you remember the way these women looked, confident, modern, free. When miniskirts arrive in American stores, they arrive quietly at first. Boutiques in big cities carry them, marketed to young women who want to look fashionable, daring, up to date. Department stores are slower, more cautious. They stock them on back racks mixed in with longer skirts, as if hoping no one will notice. But women notice, girls notice, and slowly, carefully, they start buying. The first time you try one on, you're alone in a dressing room, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. You step into the skirt, pull it up over your hips, zip it at the side. Then you turn toward the mirror, and you stop. Because you have never seen this much of your own legs before. Not in public clothing, not in something meant to be worn outside your home. Your knees are visible, your thighs are visible. You look young, modern, like someone from a different generation entirely. You also look vulnerable, because a miniskirt does not just reveal your legs. It reveals your willingness to be looked at, to be judged, to be talked about. When you wear a miniskirt, you know that people will stare, men will stare, other women will stare. Your mother will have opinions, your neighbours will have opinions. Strangers on the street will feel entitled to comment, to tell you that you look cheap or fast or like you're asking for attention. And maybe you are. Maybe that is the point. Maybe after years of shirtwaist dresses and Peter Pan collars and clothing designed to make you disappear, the miniskirt is permission to be seen, to take up space, to say, I am young, I am here, and I will not apologize for my body. But wearing a miniskirt also requires courage. It requires you to walk through the world knowing that people are watching, that some of them are judging, that you're breaking rules even if no one has written them down. It requires you to sit carefully, to bend carefully, to move through space with a new kind of awareness. Your mother will not understand. She will see the miniskirt as evidence of moral decline, of young women losing their sense of propriety. Your father will not allow it in his house. Your husband, if you have one, might feel uncomfortable, unsure whether he wants other men looking at you this way. And your friends, the ones who still wear knee-length skirts and cardigans, will ask you why. Why now? Why this? Why are you trying so hard to be different? But the girls who wear miniskirts do not see it as trying. They see it as refusing to be modest when modesty has only ever meant invisible, refusing to cover up when covering up has only ever meant shame, refusing to follow rules that were written by people who never asked what women wanted in the first place. So you stand in that dressing room, fluorescent lights buzzing, miniskirt ending high on your thighs, and you make a choice. You can put it back, return to safety, to skirts that fall below the knee and dresses that button to the collar, or you can walk out of this store wearing something that announces, quietly but unmistakably, that you're not interested in being good anymore. You're interested in being free. White gloves are everywhere in the early 60s, delicate and pristine, covering hands that have scrubbed floors and changed diapers and typed letters in silent offices. You wear them to church, to luncheons, to weddings, to funerals. They are the finishing touch, the mark of a lady. But white gloves also hide. They conceal calluses, scars, the evidence of labour. They transform working hands into something decorative, something polite. And sometimes, when you peel them off at the end of the day, you feel like you're removing more than fabric. The gloves sit in your dresser drawer, folded carefully, always in pairs. You own 3 sets, one for everyday occasions, one for special events, and one pair reserved for the most formal gatherings. They are made of cotton, soft and breathable, with tiny pearl buttons at the wrists. You have washed them so many times they have started to lose their bright whiteness, fading into a softer, gentler cream. Every Sunday morning, you pull them on before leaving for church. Your hands slide into the fabric, fingers finding their places, thumbs settling into thumb holes. You fasten the small buttons with practiced ease, not looking down, already thinking ahead to the service, to the hymns you will sing, to the neighbours you will greet afterward on the church steps. But putting on white gloves is also putting on a performance. It is the final step in transforming yourself from the woman who woke up tired, who made breakfast with unwashed hair, who snapped at her children when they moved too slowly, into the woman everyone expects to see. Polished, composed, acceptable. Your hands, without gloves, tell a different story. There is a scar on your right thumb from a knife that slipped while you were cutting carrots. Your knuckles are dry, rough from dish soap and laundry detergent and winter cold. Your nails are trimmed short, practical, because long nails do not survive housework. These are working hands, useful hands, hands that have held babies and kneaded dough and scrubbed bathtubs until they shone. But working hands, you have learned, are not appropriate for public display. They are too honest. They reveal too much about the labour that goes into maintaining a home, a family, a life, and so you cover them. You slip on white gloves and transform evidence into elegance. At church, you shake hands with the minister, your gloved fingers meeting his bare palm. You clasp hands with other women, all of you gloved, all of you smiling, all of you performing the same ritual of concealment. No one mentions the gloves. No one needs to. They are simply expected, like hats and closed-toe shoes and hemlines that fall below the knee. After church, you attend a luncheon at a neighbour's house. The women gather in the living room, teacups balanced on saucers, white gloves still in place. You hold your teacup carefully, aware that any spill will stain, that these gloves must stay pristine. Conversation drifts around you. Recipes, children, the new family that just moved in down the street. Your hands rest in your lap, gloved and still. It is only when you return home, when the door closes behind you and you're alone again, that you remove them. You unbutton the tiny pearl fasteners, peel the fabric away from your skin, Your hands emerge slightly damp, marked with faint lines where the gloves press too tightly. You flex your fingers, feeling the relief of being uncovered. And for a moment, standing in your hallway, gloves in hand, you wonder what it would be like to go through the world with your hands bare, to let people see the scars, the dryness, the evidence of everything you do when no one is watching, to stop performing elegance and simply exist as you are. But white gloves are not optional. They are required, and so tomorrow morning you will pull them on again. You will button them carefully. You will cover your hands and step out into a world that prefers women decorative, polite, concealed. Because that is what white gloves do best. They hide the truth, and they do it beautifully. The Peter Pan collar is soft, rounded, almost childlike. It frames your face with an innocence that feels both comforting and suffocating. When you wear one to a job interview or a first date, you are signalling sweetness, approachability, youth. You are saying, I am not a threat. But the Peter Pan collar also whispers something quieter. It whispers that you are playing a role, performing femininity in a way that keeps you safe but small. You owned 4 blouses with Peter Pan collars, one in white, crisp and formal, one in pale blue, soft and safe, one in cream, slightly worn but still presentable, and one in pink, reserved for occasions when you need to look especially gentle, especially harmless. The collar sits flat against your chest, its rounded edges lying smooth and even. It never stands up, never angles sharply, never demands attention. It simply rests there, framing your face like a halo, like a suggestion that you are someone who can be trusted with children, with secrets, with responsibility that does not come with authority. You wore a Peter Pan collar to your job interview at the insurance office. You paired it with a grey skirt, low heels, and a nervous smile. The collar made you look younger than your 22 years, softer, less likely to ask difficult questions about salary or advancement. When the manager hired you, he mentioned your pleasant demeanour. He said you seemed like someone who would fit in well, who would not cause problems, who understood her place. You wore a Peter Pan collar on your first date with the man who would become your husband. You chose the pale blue blouse, thinking it matched your eyes, thinking it made you look sweet and approachable. He complimented you. He said you looked nice, like the kind of girl he could take home to his mother, and you smiled. Because that was what you wanted him to think, even if some part of you wondered what it would be like to look dangerous instead. The Peter Pan collar has a history. It is named after the boy who never grew up, the character who remained forever young, forever innocent, forever trapped in childhood. And wearing one feels a little like that. It keeps you frozen in a certain kind of femininity, one that is non-threatening and eternally girlish, one that never quite becomes a woman with opinions and edges and complicated desires. At work you notice that the older women do not wear Peter Pan collars. They wear blouses with standard collars, pointed and sharp, or high necklines with no collar at all. The Peter Pan collar is reserved for younger women, for secretaries and assistants, for those who are still learning their place. It is a marker of status as much as style. It announces that you are not in charge, that you are not making decisions, that you are here to help and support and remain pleasant. But the Peter Pan collar is also safe. It never draws criticism. It never raises eyebrows. When you wear one, no one questions your judgment or your morals or your understanding of appropriate dress. You slide through the world without friction, without conflict, without anyone remembering you at all. Sometimes, late at night, you look at yourself in the mirror wearing a Peter Pan collar, and you try to imagine what you would look like without it, with a sharper collar or no collar at all, with something that did not soften every angle, that didn't round every edge. You try to imagine looking serious, authoritative, like someone people listen to rather than dismiss. But then morning comes, and you reach for the Peter Pan collar again, because it works, because it protects you, because the world is kinder to women who look harmless, who signal sweetness, who perform innocence even when they stopped feeling innocent years ago. And so you button the blouse, smooth the rounded collar against your chest, and step out into a day that will treat you gently as long as you stay soft, as long as you stay small. A sleeveless blouse in 1962 is not just a garment. It is a negotiation. Bare arms are acceptable in summer, tolerated at casual gatherings, but frowned upon in professional settings and certain social circles. If you wear a sleeveless blouse to the office, someone will notice. Someone will mention it, gently, with a smile that does not reach their eyes, and you will learn quietly that even your shoulders carry meaning. It is June, hot and humid, the kind of weather that makes your clothes stick to your skin before you have even left the house. You stand in front of your closet, already sweating, trying to decide what to wear to work. The long-sleeved blouses hang heavy and stifling. The cardigans feel impossible. And there, at the end of the row, is a sleeveless blouse, pale yellow, crisp and cool and waiting. You hesitate. You know the rules, unwritten but understood. Sleeveless is for weekends, for backyard barbecues, for casual errands, not for the office, not for anywhere you need to be taken seriously. But it is so hot, and the blouse is so pretty, and you're so tired of sweating through long sleeves just to prove you understand propriety. So you wear it. You pair it with a modest skirt, low heels, a neat hairstyle. You tell yourself that it is tasteful, that it is appropriate enough, that surely on a day this hot everyone will understand. The office is cool when you arrive, air conditioning humming softly, a relief after the thick heat outside. You settle at your desk, organise your papers, begin typing the letters your boss dictated yesterday. For a while, no one says anything. You think maybe it will be fine, maybe no one noticed, maybe bare arms in summer are acceptable after all. Then your supervisor stops by your desk. She's older, maybe 50, wearing a long-sleeved blouse buttoned to her wrist despite the heat. She leans down, her voice low and kind, the way people speak when they're about to correct you gently. "It is awfully warm today," she says. "Perhaps tomorrow you might bring a cardigan." She does not say the sleeveless blouse is inappropriate. She does not say you look unprofessional. She does not need to. The message is clear. Cover your arms, even in summer, even when it's 90 degrees outside. Because bare arms suggest casualness, a lack of seriousness, a woman who does not understand the standards of professional dress. You nod. You smile. You say, of course, you understand. It will not happen again. And for the rest of the day, you're aware of your arms in a way you've never been before. You feel them exposed, vulnerable, too much skin on display for a place where you're supposed to disappear into efficiency. At lunch, you mention it to another woman, someone younger, close to your age. She laughs, but not unkindly. She tells you she tried wearing a sleeveless blouse once too. Her boss, a man, did not say anything directly, but he kept glancing at her arms during their meeting, distracted, uncomfortable. And she realized that bare arms, for some people, suggest something beyond temperature control. They suggest availability, informality, a body that has not been properly contained. So now she wears cardigans, light ones in summer, draped over her shoulders even when she is sweating, because it is easier to be hot than to be judged. The next day, you wear long sleeves. The day after that, long sleeves again. The sleeveless blouse stays in your closet, relegated to Saturdays, to grocery store trips, to moments when you are not being watched by people who have opinions about your shoulders, and you learn, the way all women learn, that dress codes are not always written down. They exist in glances, in gentle corrections, in the quiet understanding that some parts of your body are acceptable only in certain contexts, that even your arms, bare and innocent, can be read as a statement you did not intend to make. So you cover them. You wear the cardigan, the long sleeves, the layers that make summer unbearable but make you acceptable. Because that is the trade. Comfort for approval, coolness for respectability. And in 1962 America, that trade is not optional. It is simply how things are. The pillbox hat sits atop your head like a crown, small and structured and impossibly chic. Jackie Kennedy made it famous, and suddenly every woman in America wants one. When you wear a pillbox hat, you're channeling elegance, sophistication, a kind of polished grace that feels aspirational. But hats in the 60s are also markers of class, of occasion, of whether you belong in certain rooms. And if you cannot afford a pillbox hat, if you wear something simpler or nothing at all, people notice that too. You bought your first pillbox hat in 1961, shortly after seeing photographs of the First Lady wearing one at the inauguration. The hat sat in the department store window, perched on a faceless mannequin head, elegant and expensive. You stood outside the window for 3 afternoons in a row before finally going inside. The saleswoman lifted it, carefully from its display, handling it like something precious. She placed it on your head, adjusting the angle, tilting it slightly forward. You looked in the mirror and barely recognized yourself. The hat transformed you. It made you look older, more refined, like someone who attended luncheons and charity events and knew which fork to use. It also cost more than you wanted to spend. But you bought it anyway, because some things are not just accessories. Some things are investments in who you want to become. Now you wear the pillbox hat to church, to weddings, to any occasion that requires you to look your best. You position it carefully each time, using bobby pins to secure it, making sure it sits level and elegant. The hat never slips, never shifts. It stays exactly where you place it, structured and unmoving. Other women notice. They compliment you at church socials, touching the brim lightly, asking where you bought it. Some of them wear pillbox hats too, though theirs are different colours, different materials, subtle variations on the same theme. You recognise these women as part of your circle, people who understand that presentation matters, that elegance requires effort, that a hat is never just a hat. But not everyone wears pillbox hats. Some women wear wider brim styles, more practical, less fashionable. Some wear simple cloth hats, inexpensive and unremarkable. And some, increasingly, wear no hats at all, especially younger women who are starting to question whether covering your head in church is really necessary, whether tradition matters more than comfort. These women without hats make the older generation uncomfortable. They represent change, a loosening of standards, a world where elegance is optional rather than required. And when you sit in church, pillbox hats secured with bobby pins, you sometimes glance at the younger women with their bare heads and feel something complicated, part judgment, part envy, because they look free in a way you do not. The pillbox hat also has rules. You wear it straight, not tilted too far back or too far forward. You never remove it during the service, though you do remove it at luncheons once you're seated. You coordinate it with your outfit, matching or complementing colours, never clashing. And you never ever wear a pillbox hat casually. It is not for grocery stores or afternoon errands. It is for occasions, for moments when you need to signal that you understand elegance, that you belong in polite society. Your husband does not understand the hat. He thinks it is too small, too impractical, too expensive for something that barely covers your hair. But he does not say this often, because he sees the way other men look at you when you wear it. He sees the way you carry yourself differently, shoulders back, chin up, moving through the world like someone important. And maybe that is what the pillbox hat really does. It changes not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. It reminds you that you are capable of elegance, that you can embody sophistication even if you do not always feel sophisticated inside. But the pillbox hat also exhausts you. It requires maintenance, careful storage, frequent checks to ensure it has not been crushed or damaged. It demands that you hold your head a certain way, that you move carefully so it does not slip. It transforms getting dressed into a production, adding another layer of effort to an already complicated routine. And sometimes, on Sunday mornings when you're tired and running late, you look at the pillbox hat sitting on your dresser and wish you could just walk out the door without it. Wish you could be the kind of woman who does not need accessories to feel complete, who can be elegant without trying so hard. But you are not that woman. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So you pin the hat in place, you check your reflection one final time, and you step out into a world that judges you by the crown you wear. A cardigan sweater is safe. It buttons neatly over your blouse, adding a layer of warmth and propriety. Women wear cardigans to PTA meetings, to grocery stores, to afternoon tea. The cardigan says, I am thoughtful, I am practical, I am not trying too hard. But cardigans also erase. They smooth over curves, hide shape, make you blend into wallpaper. And sometimes you wonder if that is exactly the point. You own 7 cardigans. That number surprises you when you count them, lined up in your closet like soldiers of softness, beige, cream, pale blue, grey, navy, pink, and one in mint green that you bought on sale but have worn only twice because it feels too cheerful, too noticeable. The cardigans are interchangeable, practical, designed to go with everything. You can throw one on over any blouse, any dress, and instantly look more put together, more modest, more appropriate. They are the solution to countless wardrobe problems, an outfit that feels too bright, too tight, too revealing. Add a cardigan. Suddenly everything is softer, safer, acceptable. You wear a cardigan to the grocery store on Tuesday mornings. You wear one to pick up your children from school. You wear one to PTA meetings where you sit in folding chairs and discuss fundraisers and field trips while trying to stay awake. The cardigan is your uniform for motherhood, for domesticity, for all the small, unremarkable tasks that fill your days. But here is what the cardigan does that no one talks about. It hides your body. Not dramatically, not obviously, but gradually, quietly, until you have almost forgotten what your actual shape looks like. The cardigan hangs loose from your shoulders, skimming over your breasts, your waist, your hips. It buttons up the front, creating a vertical line that draws the eye away from curves. It makes you look neutral, unobjectionable, forgettable. And sometimes, when you catch your reflection in a store window, cardigan buttoned to your throat, you see your mother. You see your grandmother. You see generations of women who learned that being seen is dangerous, that curves are inappropriate, that the safest way to move through the world is to soften every edge. At the PTA meeting, you look around the room. Every woman is wearing a cardigan, every single one. They are different colours, different styles, but the effect is the same. A room full of women who have agreed, without ever discussing it, that their bodies should not be visible, that their primary role is not to be looked at, but to blend in, to support, to quietly manage the logistics of school and home and family without drawing attention. Your husband never wears cardigans. He wears suits to work, casual shirts on weekends, sweaters that fit his body and show his shape. No one expects him to cover up, to soften, to erase himself. His body is allowed to exist in the world exactly as it is. But your body, you have learned, requires layers. It requires concealment. It requires the gentle erasure that a cardigan provides. There is something comforting about this, you tell yourself. The cardigan is easy. It requires no thought, no effort, no risk. You can grab one from your closet without looking, button it as you walk out the door, and know that you will be appropriate for whatever the day brings. But there is also something sad about it, something resigned. Because wearing a cardigan every day feels less like a choice, and more like a quiet agreement you made without realizing it. An agreement that says, I will not take up too much space, I will not be too visible, I will soften myself until I am easy to ignore. And the longer you wear cardigans, the harder it becomes to imagine not wearing them. What would you even look like without that extra layer? Would you feel exposed? Vulnerable? Too much? On a warm Saturday afternoon, you try an experiment. You leave the house without a cardigan, just a blouse and a skirt, nothing covering your arms, nothing hiding your shape. You walk to the mailbox, then down the street to your neighbour's house, and the whole time you feel naked. Not literally, of course, but emotionally, like you've forgotten a crucial piece of armour. Your neighbour opens the door and her eyes flick briefly over your outfit. She does not say anything, but you feel the assessment, the quiet surprise that you're not wearing a cardigan, the unspoken question, why? You return home quickly, you put a cardigan back on, and you tell yourself it is because the afternoon has turned cool, because you need the warmth, because it is more practical this way. But deep down, you know the truth. The cardigan is not about warmth, it is about safety, about invisibility, about learning to hide so well that you forget you're hiding at all. Capri pants arrive in the late 50s and linger into the 60s, cropped just below the knee, casual and continental. They are vacation clothes, weekend clothes, the kind of thing you wear when you want to feel relaxed and modern. But capri, pants also push boundaries. They are pants after all, and in many circles women wearing pants is still quietly radical. When you wear capris, you're testing the limits, seeing how far you can stretch without breaking. You first saw capri pants in a movie. Audrey Hepburn wore them, paired with ballet flats and a simple blouse, looking effortlessly chic as she wandered through European streets. You sat in the dark theatre, watching her move, thinking, I want to feel like that. Light, free, like someone on permanent vacation. When capri pants appeared in American stores, you hesitated. They were pants, and your mother had made her feelings about women in pants very clear. Pants were for men, for work, for activities that required ruggedness. Women wore skirts and dresses. That was simply how things were. But capri pants felt different. They were not full-length trousers, not trying to imitate men. They were cropped, feminine, showing off slim ankles and delicate shoes. They were continental, European, sophisticated. They suggested travel, leisure, a life beyond laundry and grocery shopping. So you bought a pair, black, tailored, fitted, but not tight. You paired them with a sleeveless blouse and sandals, and you looked in the mirror. You looked modern. You looked like someone from a magazine. You looked like someone who did not spend her afternoon scrubbing floors. The first time you wore them outside, you wore them to the grocery store on a Saturday morning. Just a quick errand, nothing significant. But you felt every glance. Older women looked twice, their expressions flickering between curiosity and disapproval. Men looked too, though differently, their eyes lingering on the exposed curve of your calves. And you realised that capri pants, for all their casual elegance, carried weight you had not anticipated. Your mother saw you wearing them the following Sunday when you stopped by for lunch. She did not say anything at first, just looked you up and down, lips pressed thin. Then quietly, "Are those pants?" "They are capris," you said, as if the name made a difference. She shook her head. In my day, women dressed like women, and you wanted to argue, wanted to say that capri pants are feminine, that they are fashionable, that times are changing. But you also knew she was right in a way. Capri pants are pants, and wearing pants, even cropped feminine pants, is a statement. It says, I do not need to wear a skirt to be a woman. I do not need to follow your rules to be respectable. Your friends are divided. Some of them love capri pants, wear them on weekends, pair them with colourful blouses and casual confidence. Others refuse, say they would never wear pants, that it is not appropriate, that it sends the wrong message, and you, caught in the middle, wear your capris only on Saturdays, only for errands, only when you're not going anywhere that matters. But wearing capri pants changes how you move. You walk differently, longer strides, more confidence, because pants, even cropped pants, give you freedom that skirts do not. You can sit without worrying about your hemline. You can bend without thinking about modesty. You can move through the world with ease, and that freedom is addictive. You start wearing your capris more often, to the park with your children, to casual lunches with friends, to afternoon errands that stretch into evening, and each time you feel a little less self-conscious, a little more entitled to this small rebellion. Because that is what capri pants are in 1962. They are rebellion disguised as vacation wear. They are a quiet refusal to stay contained in skirts and dresses. They are practice for something bigger, something you cannot quite name yet but can feel building in the distance. Your husband notices. He says you look nice but also different. He says he liked your skirts better, but he does not forbid the capris. He is modern enough to understand that forbidding things only makes them more appealing. And so you keep wearing them. These cropped pants that make you feel light, free, like someone on vacation from the expectations that usually govern your wardrobe. These pants that test the limits without crossing them entirely. These pants that whisper, change is coming. Are you ready? Pearls in the 1960s are not just jewellery. They are a declaration. A single strand around your neck says you have arrived, that you understand elegance, that you know how to present yourself in polite society. Mothers give pearls to daughters on wedding days. Bosses notice them during promotions. Husbands buy them as anniversary gifts. But pearls also carry expectations. They expect you to behave, to smile, to never raise your voice. Your pearls were a wedding gift from your husband's mother. She placed the velvet box in your hands the morning of your wedding, her expression serious, almost solemn. These were mine, she said. Now they are yours. Wear them well. The pearls are real, not costume jewellery. Each one is slightly irregular, organic, the way genuine pearls are. They catch light softly, glowing with a muted lustre that announces quality without shouting. The strand is long enough to fall just below your collarbone, formal enough for evening events but simple enough for church. You wear them often, more often than any other jewellery you own. You wear them to Sunday services, to dinner parties, to any occasion where you need to look polished and appropriate. The pearls have become part of your uniform, as essential as your lipstick and your careful hairstyle. But wearing pearls is also wearing a reminder. They sit against your throat, cool and heavy, a gentle weight that says, remember who you are. Remember how to behave. Remember that you represent your husband, your family, your place in society. Pearls do not allow for sloppiness, for raised voices, for anything that might be considered unladylike. You have noticed that certain women always wear pearls. Your mother-in-law, of course, the women at your husband's office parties, the PTA president, the church choir director. These are women who have accepted their roles, who move through the world with careful grace, who never make scenes or cause trouble. The pearls mark them as belonging to a particular kind of respectability. And now you're one of them. There are moments when the pearls feel like a collar. When you sit at a dinner party, smiling and nodding while men discuss business, and the pearls press against your throat like a gentle reprimand. Stay quiet. Stay pleasant. This is not your conversation. There are moments when you touch them absently, fingers running over smooth surfaces, and you think about all the women who wore pearls before you. Your mother-in-law, yes, but also your grandmother, your great-grandmother, generations of women who learned that beauty is currency and respectability is survival. Your daughter, when she is old enough, will likely receive these pearls. You will give them to her the way they were given to you, with the same serious expression, the same unspoken instructions. Wear them well, behave appropriately, understand what they mean. But part of you wonders if your daughter will want them, if she will see pearls as treasure or as burden, if she will understand that wearing them means accepting certain limitations, certain expectations, certain rules about how a woman should move through the world. You have a friend who refuses to wear pearls. She calls them old-fashioned, says they make her feel like someone's grandmother. She wears bold costume jewelry instead. Big, colourful beads, statement earrings, things that announce her presence rather than whisper it. And you admire her secretly, even as you reach for your pearls every Sunday morning. Because pearls are safe, pearls are accepted. Pearls open doors that bold jewellery might close. When you walk into a room wearing pearls, people make assumptions about you. Good assumptions. Assumptions that you're refined, educated, appropriate. Assumptions that make life easier, smoother, more manageable. But pearls also close doors. They close doors to wildness, to spontaneity, to being seen as anything other than respectable. When you wear pearls, you cannot be too loud, too opinionated, too much. You must stay contained, measured, graceful. And some days that feels like safety. Other days it feels like a cage made of gleaming, perfect spheres. The shift dress is simple, straight, unstructured. It falls from the shoulders to the hem without cinching, without shaping, without demanding that your body conform to anything. When the shift dress becomes popular in the mid-60s, feels like freedom. No corset, no girdle, no squeezing yourself into something smaller. But the shift dress also confuses people. Without a defined waist, without curves on display, what does a woman's body even mean? You buy your first shift dress in 1964 at a boutique downtown that caters to younger women. The dress hangs on the rack like a simple tube of fabric, pale yellow linen with short sleeves and a hem that falls just above your knees. You take it into the dressing room, skeptical. It looks too plain, too shapeless, too much like something unfinished. But when you slip it on, something shifts. The fabric skims your body without gripping it. There is no zipper fighting against your ribs, no belt cutting into your waist, no darts pulling the fabric tight across your chest. The dress simply hangs, allowing your body to exist underneath it without comment, without judgment, without demanding that you suck in or stand straighter or hold your breath. You turn in the mirror and the dress moves with you, easy and fluid. You look modern. You look like the women in magazines, the ones photographed in London and Paris, the ones who seem to glide through life without effort. But you also look different than you have ever looked before. Without a defined waist, your silhouette reads as almost boyish, androgynous, a shape that does not announce itself as feminine in the traditional sense. And that, you realize, is exactly the point. The shift dress rejects the hourglass. It refuses to participate in the architectural engineering of the female body that has dominated fashion for decades. It does not try to create curves where there are none, does not emphasize breasts or hips or the narrow space between them. It simply allows you to be shaped like a human rather than a fantasy. You wear the shift dress to lunch with a friend, and she stares at you for a long moment before speaking. "Is that comfortable?" she asks, and you hear the real question underneath. "Is that appropriate?" "It is," you say. "Very comfortable." She nods slowly, but you can see her uncertainty. She's still wearing shirtwaist dresses, still cinching her waist with belts, still participating in the old language of feminine presentation, and here you are, in a dress that speaks a different language entirely. Your mother sees the shift dress and frowns. It does not do anything for your figure, she says, which is her polite way of saying it does not create a figure where she thinks one should be. That is all right, you reply. I like it anyway. But her comment stays with you, settling somewhere uncomfortable. Because she is right in a way. The shift dress does not do anything for your figure. It does not enhance, highlight, or sculpt. It simply covers. And in a world where women's clothing has always been about shaping and presenting the body in specific, acceptable ways, a dress that refuses to participate feels almost rebellious. At the grocery store, you notice other women starting to wear shift dresses too. Younger women mostly, though some older ones are beginning to experiment. You exchange small smiles with them, these women in their straight, simple dresses, as if you are all part of a quiet conspiracy. A conspiracy to be comfortable, to take up space without apologizing for your shape. Your husband notices the shift dress but says nothing. You suspect he does not quite know what to make of it. He married a woman who wore fitted dresses with defined waists, whose body was always clearly visible underneath her clothing. Now you wear something that obscures, that creates a mystery where there used to be clarity. But you keep wearing the shift dress. You buy another one in navy blue, then one in a bold geometric print. You wear them to the store, to lunch, to casual gatherings, and each time you feel a little more free, a little more like yourself, a little less like a body being presented for evaluation. Because the shift dress does something radical. It removes your body from the conversation. It says, I am here, I am present, but I am not interested in being assessed, measured, judged against an ideal. I am simply wearing clothes that allow me to move through the world with ease, and in 1964, that is revolutionary. A black turtleneck in 1964 signals something specific. It says you read, you think, you might attend poetry readings in dimly lit coffee shops. The turtleneck is the uniform of beatniks and artists, of women who reject pearls and lipstick in favour of something more serious, more contemplative. When you wear a turtleneck, you are aligning yourself with a different kind of femininity, one that prioritizes mind over appearance. But turtlenecks also make some people uncomfortable. They wonder what you're hiding underneath all that fabric. You discover the turtleneck at a second-hand bookstore of all places. There is a girl behind the counter, maybe 20 years old, wearing a black turtleneck tucked into dark pants, her hair pulled back severely. No makeup, no jewellery. She looks serious, intelligent, like someone who has opinions about existentialism and modern poetry. She looks like someone who does not care whether men find her attractive. And you want that. You want to look like someone who has interests beyond appearance, someone whose mind matters more than her face. So you buy a turtleneck. Black, because black is serious, intellectual, the colour of people who think deeply about things. You pair it with a simple skirt, no belt, no accessories except small silver earrings. When you look in the mirror, you barely recognise yourself. You look older, more severe, less concerned with prettiness. Your husband notices immediately. Why are you dressed like that, he asks, not unkindly, just confused. Like what? Like you're going to a funeral or a protest. You do not answer because you're not sure how to explain that you're trying on a different version of yourself, a version that is taken seriously, that is listened to, that exists in the world as something more than decorative. You wear the turtleneck to a book club meeting at your neighbour's house. The other women arrive in cardigans and pearls, their usual uniforms. They glance at your turtleneck, and you see the questions forming in their eyes. You settle into your chair, and when the discussion begins, you speak more than you usually do. You offer opinions, challenge interpretations, quote passages from memory. And the turtleneck somehow makes this easier. It gives you permission to be smart, to be serious, to occupy intellectual space without apology. But it also creates distance. During the coffee and cookies after the discussion, the other women cluster together, chatting about children and recipes and weekend plans. You stand slightly apart, turtleneck suddenly feeling too warm, too severe, too much like a costume you're not sure you know how to wear. One woman approaches you, teacup in hand. "That is an interesting look," she says, gesturing toward your turtleneck. "Very bohemian." You smile, unsure if this is a compliment or a criticism. She leans closer, voice dropping. "My daughter wears turtlenecks now. She's at the university. She says they are what all the serious students wear, the ones who care about ideas." And you realize this woman is trying to understand you, trying to place you in a category that makes sense. Turtleneck equals student, intellectual, someone temporarily trying on seriousness before returning to normal life. But you're not trying on seriousness. You're trying to claim it permanently. At the library, you notice other women in turtlenecks. They browse the philosophy section, the poetry, the new releases that bookstore clerks have labelled challenging. They look like they belong there, like they are native speakers of a language you're still learning. You want to approach them, to say, "I am like you, I read, I think, I want to be taken seriously," but you do not. Because part of you is still uncertain. Part of you still feels like you're playing dress-up, like the turtleneck is a costume rather than a genuine expression of who you are. Your mother-in-law sees you in the turtleneck at Sunday dinner. She studies you for a long moment, then asks, "Are you feeling well?" "Yes," you say. "Why?" "You just look different. Covered up." "Are you cold?" "No, I just like this sweater." She nods, but you see her confusion. In her world, women do not cover their throats unless they're hiding something. A blemish, age, some imperfection that needs concealing. The idea that you might cover your throat simply because you like the aesthetic, because it makes you feel intellectual and serious, does not occur to her. And maybe that is the real power of the turtleneck. It refuses to explain itself. It covers without offering justification. It creates a barrier between your body and the world's gaze, and it does so unapologetically. You wear the turtleneck to the library, to the bookstore, to afternoon coffee with a friend who also reads serious books and has opinions about them. And slowly the turtleneck stops feeling like a costume. It starts feeling like armor, like permission, like a quiet declaration that you are more than pretty, more than pleasant, more than the sum of your physical presentation. You're someone who thinks. And the turtleneck announces that before you ever open your mouth, go-go boots are loud, bold, unapologetically mod. They rise to mid-calf, shiny and white or brightly coloured, paired with mini-skirts and confidence. When you wear go-go boots, you're not asking for permission. You're dancing in cages at nightclubs. You're laughing too loudly. You're claiming space. Go-go boots say, "I am here, I am young, I am alive." And some people love that, but others find it threatening. You see them first on television, on a dance show where young women in short skirts and white boots move to music that sounds like the future. The boots gleam under stage lights, reflecting every movement, every step, every confident bounce. The dancers look free, joyful, utterly unconcerned with what anyone thinks of them, and you want that feeling. You want to move through the world with that kind of certainty, that kind of brightness. The boots are expensive, more expensive than any shoes you have ever bought for yourself. They sit in the store window for weeks, white vinyl shining, before you finally gather the courage to go inside and try them on. The salesman, young and enthusiastic, brings them out in your size. They have a low heel, a zipper up the inside, and when you pull them on, they transform your legs into something sleek and modern. You buy them. You do not tell your husband how much they cost. The first time you wear them, you pair them with a short skirt, shorter than anything you have worn before. The boots end just below your knee, the skirt ends well above it, and suddenly you have more leg visible than you ever have in public. You feel exposed and powerful at the same time, like you're testing a boundary you did not know existed. You wear them to meet a friend at a coffee shop downtown and people stare. Not subtle glances, but full stares. Men turn to watch you walk by. Women look you up and down, some with curiosity, some with disapproval. And you realise that go-go boots are not just footwear. They are announcement. They broadcast, I am young, I am modern, I do not care what you think. Your friend laughs when she sees you. Oh my God, she says, you actually bought them. I did. You look like you are about to dance in a cage, and you laugh too because that is exactly the look you're going for. Not literally, of course. You're not planning to dance in cages, but you want to look like someone who could, someone who has that kind of freedom, that kind of wildness. At home, your husband stares at the boots for a long moment. Are you going somewhere? He asks. No, just out with a friend. In those? Yes. He does not say anything else, but you see his uncertainty. The boots are outside his understanding of how his wife should dress, how she should move through the world. The boots suggest nightlife, dancing, a kind of youth he thought you had left behind when you married him. But you are only 25, and the boots remind you of that. They remind you that you're still young, still allowed to be playful, still permitted to take up space in bright, shiny, unapologetic ways. You start wearing the boots more often, to the store, to casual lunches, to afternoon errands. And each time you notice the reactions. Younger women smile, some with envy, some with solidarity. Older women frown, shake their heads, mutter things about appropriateness and modesty. Men look, always their eyes drawn to the shine, the height, the boldness. And you learn that go-go boots are divisive. They force people to have opinions about you before you have said a word. They mark you as modern or inappropriate, stylish or attention-seeking, depending entirely on who is looking. Your mother refuses to acknowledge them. She looks past them as if they do not exist, as if you are wearing normal shoes. Her silence is louder than any criticism could be. But your younger sister loves them. She asks to try them on, zips them up over her own calves, walks around your living room with exaggerated steps, giggling. When I am older, she says, I am getting a pair exactly like these. And you realise that go-go boots are generational. They mark a line between the women who grew up believing that modesty and invisibility were survival, and the women who are starting to believe that visibility, brightness, boldness might be options instead. You wear the boots to a party, and someone asks if you are part of the mod scene. You're not sure how to answer, because you do not think of yourself as part of any scene. You're just a woman in her 20s who bought white boots and liked the way they made her feel. But maybe that's enough. Maybe wearing go-go boots is less about belonging to a movement and more about claiming a small piece of freedom, about saying, even quietly, even just to yourself, I am allowed to shine. I am allowed to be noticed. I am allowed to take up space in bright, bold, impossible to ignore ways. And if that makes people uncomfortable, well, maybe that is their problem, not yours. A full skirt swirls when you walk, fabric billowing like a bell. It is feminine in the most traditional sense, modest and romantic and safe. Full skirts are what good girls wear, what mothers approve of, what teachers nod at approvingly. But full skirts also require stillness. They catch indoors, they tangle around your legs when you try to run. And sometimes you wonder if that is the design, keeping you slow, keeping you careful. You own 3 full skirts, one in red with white polka dots, one in navy blue, one in a soft floral print that your mother gave you for your birthday. They hang in your closet, taking up more space than any other garment, their volume impossible to compress. When you pull one out to wear, you must navigate carefully, making sure the fabric does not catch on other hangers, does not drag across the floor, does not wrinkle from being handled. Putting on a full skirt is a production. First, the petticoat, stiff and scratchy, to give the skirt its proper shape. Then the skirt itself, zipped or buttoned at the waist, the fabric falling in careful folds. You smooth it down, check that it sits evenly, make sure the hem does not twist or bunch. Already, before you have even left your bedroom, you feel the weight of it, the way it changes how you move. You wear a full skirt to church, and it swishes as you walk down the aisle, announcing your presence with gentle sound. You settle into the pew carefully, gathering the fabric around you, making sure it does not poof up awkwardly or reveal too much leg. Sitting in a full skirt requires thought, attention, constant awareness of where all that fabric is and what it might be doing. Your mother nods approvingly when she sees you. That is how a young lady should dress, she says, and you smile, because you know this makes her happy. The full skirt signals that you have learned the lesson she taught you, that you understand propriety, that you will not embarrass her with short hems or tight silhouettes, or anything that suggests rebellion. But the full skirt also frustrates you. When you walk too quickly, it tangles between your legs, forcing you to slow down. When you try to get into a car, you must gather all that fabric carefully, make sure none of it catches in the door, arrange it delicately once you're seated. When you reach for something on a high shelf, the skirt rises at the hem, revealing more leg than you intended, making you constantly vigilant about your movements. At the grocery store, a full skirt catches on the corner of a shopping cart. You tug gently, trying to free it without tearing the fabric. A man watches you struggle, amused, as if your clothing mishap is entertaining. You feel heat rising in your face, embarrassment at being trapped by your own garment. Your friend, the one who wears capri pants and shift dresses, asks why you still wear full skirts. They are so impractical, she says. Do you not get tired of all that fabric? You do. You are tired. But you also know that full skirts are safe. They are approved. They mark you as traditional, feminine, someone who understands her place. And in 1963, that approval matters. It opens doors. It earns smiles from older women, nods from authority figures, a kind of social ease that comes from conforming. But conforming also exhausts you. You wear the full skirt to a picnic in the park, and when your children ask you to play with them, to run and chase and join their games, you hesitate. The skirt will not allow for running. It will catch, will tangle, will make you look foolish. So you sit on a blanket instead, watching them play, wishing you could join them but held in place by yards of fabric. And sitting there you realise something. The full skirt is not just modest, it is restrictive. It keeps you slow, keeps you careful, keeps you from moving through the world with the kind of freedom your children have. The skirt demands that you be decorative rather than active, that you prioritise appearance over participation. That evening, you hang the full skirt back in your closet. You stare at it for a long moment, at all that fabric, all that volume, all that careful femininity. And you think about the shift dress hanging beside it, the one that lets you move freely, the capri pants that let you run, the clothing that does not require you to be still. You do not throw the full skirt away. You are not ready for that kind of rebellion yet. But you do push it to the back of your closet, behind the more practical options, behind the clothes that let you live rather than just look appropriate. Because you are starting to realize that looking appropriate is not the same as being free, and you are tired of choosing appearance over movement. You're tired of being kept slow. Colour in the 60s is not random. Pastels are sweet, demure, acceptable for spring luncheons and garden parties. Bright colours are youthful, energetic, maybe a little too much. Black is sophisticated but can read as mourning or rebellion depending on context. Red is danger, sexuality, power. When you choose a colour in the morning, you're also choosing how the world will see you before you have said a single word. You learn this language early from your mother, from magazines, from the quiet corrections that shape your understanding of what is appropriate. Pastels for young women, especially unmarried ones, soft pinks, baby blues, mint greens that suggest innocence and approachability. These are the colours of Easter dresses and first dates, colours that say you are sweet, unthreatening, pure. You own many pastel dresses. They fill your closet like a watercolour painting, soft and safe and entirely predictable. When you wear pale pink to church, people smile at you warmly. When you wear baby blue to a luncheon, older women compliment your taste. Pastels earn approval without effort, opening doors and softening edges and making you easy to like. But pastels also bore you. They bore you in a way you do not admit to anyone, not even yourself most days. Because being bored by pastels feels ungrateful, like rejecting a gift you're supposed to appreciate. But when you stand in front of your closet looking at all those soft, gentle colours, you sometimes wish for something brighter, bolder, more alive. Red catches your eye in a department store window. A dress, bold and unapologetic, the colour of stop signs and fire engines and lipstick that leaves marks. You stare at it for a long time before going inside, before asking to try it on, before zipping yourself into colour that feels like a dare. The red dress transforms you. It demands attention in a way pastel never does. It announces your presence. It refuses to blend into the background or disappear into wallpaper. When you look in the mirror, you see someone confident, powerful, maybe a little dangerous. You also see someone your mother would not approve of. Red, she has told you more than once, is for a certain kind of woman. She does not elaborate, but you understand. Red is for women who are too much, too bold, too willing to be looked at. Red is for movie stars and nightclub singers and women who don't worry about respectability. But you buy the dress anyway. You tell yourself it is for special occasions, for evenings out, for moments when being appropriate matters less than being memorable. You hang it in your closet between the pastels, and every time you open the door, the red dress catches your eye like a small rebellion. Wearing the red dress to a party feels like stepping onto a stage. People notice immediately. Men look longer than they should. Women assess you with careful eyes, trying to determine what the red dress means, what you're trying to say by wearing it. And you realize that colour is never neutral. It always communicates something, whether you intend it to or not. Your husband has opinions about colour too. He likes you in blue, he says. Blue is calming, feminine, safe. He is less sure about the red dress. When you wear it, he asks where you're going, who will be there, whether you're sure that is appropriate for the occasion. He does not say the red dress is wrong, but his questions carry weight. Black is another complicated colour. Black dresses can be elegant, sophisticated, the height of evening glamour, but black can also read as mourning, as sadness, as something slightly too serious for daytime. When you wear black to a luncheon, someone asks if you are feeling all right, if something has happened, if you need to talk. No, you say, I just like this dress. But the question lingers, because black, especially on younger women, signals something. It suggests depth, seriousness, perhaps a rejection of the cheerful pastels that are supposed to define femininity. Black says you're thinking about things, that you're not interested in being pretty and pleasant and easy to categorize. Bright colours are for younger women, for teenagers and college students who have not yet learned to moderate their enthusiasm. Bright yellows and oranges and greens that almost hurt to look at. These colours are allowed in casual settings, at beach outings and picnics and weekend gatherings. But wear bright colours to church or to a formal event, and people notice. They wonder if you understand the rules, if you're trying too hard, if you're seeking attention in inappropriate ways. And so you learn to moderate, to choose colours that fit the occasion, the season, the expectations of the people who will see you. You learn that spring calls for pastels, that fall calls for jewel tones, that winter calls for darker, richer colours. You learn that colour is a language, and speaking it incorrectly has consequences. But some mornings you stand in front of your closet and wish colour could be simpler. Wish you could wear red without it meaning danger, black without it suggesting mourning, bright yellow without it reading as excessive. Wish colour could just be colour, beautiful and expressive and free from all the meaning people attach to it. Because you are tired of being read before you speak, tired of your dress announcing things about you that you never intended to say, tired of learning that even the colours you wear carry weight you did not ask for. If you work as a secretary in 1965, your wardrobe is not your own. There are unspoken rules: skirts, not pants, heels, not flats, blouses that button high, cardigans in neutral tones. You dress to be professional but not threatening, polished but not distracting. Your clothing says, "I am competent, I am here to assist, I will not make waves." And every morning you perform that promise with fabric and thread. You learn these rules on your first day. No one tells you directly, but you see them in the other secretaries, in the way they dress with careful uniformity. Knee-length skirts in navy, grey or black, blouses in white or pale blue, closed-toe shoes with modest heels, hair neat, makeup minimal, jewellery simple and quiet. You watch the executive secretary, the one who's been there longest, the one everyone else seems to model themselves after. Her wardrobe is a study in professional invisibility. Nothing too bright, nothing too tight, nothing that draws attention away from her efficiency and toward her body. She moves through the office like a ghost of competence, present but not intrusive, helpful but not memorable, and you understand. This is what you must become, so you build a secretary wardrobe. You buy skirts that fit well but not too well, blouses that button to your collarbone, cardigans that cover everything. You choose shoes that are comfortable enough to wear all day but formal enough to look professional. You assemble a uniform that announces your role before you ever answer a phone or type a letter. The rules are stricter than you expected. When you wear a skirt that ends slightly above your knee, your supervisor mentions it gently. "That is a lovely skirt," she says. "Perhaps with stockings it would be perfect for the office." The message is clear: more coverage, less leg, more modesty. When you wear a blouse in a soft lavender, not quite pastel but not quite neutral, another secretary pulls you aside. "That is such a pretty colour," she whispers. "I used to wear colours like that. But I found that sticking to white and blue made things easier." Made it easier for what, she does not say. But you understand. Made it easier to be taken seriously, to be invisible in the right ways, to avoid unwanted attention. The uniform works. When you dress appropriately in your secretary uniform of neutrals and modesty, you move through the office without incident. Men do not make comments. Do not linger too long at your desk. Do not mistake your professionalism for availability. You are efficient, helpful, nearly invisible. But the uniform also erases you. When you catch your reflection in the office bathroom mirror, you barely recognize yourself. The woman staring back looks competent, professional, entirely unremarkable. She looks like every other secretary in every other office building in America. She looks like a role rather than a person. Your friend, the one who works at an art gallery, dresses differently. She wears bright colours, interesting jewellery, clothes that express personality. When you meet for lunch, you feel drab beside her, muted, like someone who has agreed to disappear in exchange for a paycheck. "Do you have to dress like that?" she asks, gesturing at your neutral cardigan and sensible skirt. "It is what is expected," you say. "But do you like it?" You pause, because the honest answer is no, you do not like it. But liking your clothes is not the point. The point is being appropriate, being acceptable, being allowed to keep your job without complications. At the office, you notice that male employees do not have the same restrictions. They wear suits, yes, but their suits have variety. Different colours, different patterns, different styles. They express personality through their ties, their shirts, their choices. No one monitors their hemlines or comments on their colours. No one tells them their clothing is too distracting or too casual or too anything. But you as a secretary must be neutral. You must be a backdrop against which more important people can shine. Your clothing must say, "I am here to support you, not to compete with you, not to draw attention away from you." And every morning when you button your blouse and smooth your skirt and slip on your cardigan, you participate in this performance. You erase yourself professionally. You become the uniform rather than the person wearing it. Some days this feels like a fair trade. Professional invisibility in exchange for steady employment, for respect within your role, for the ability to move through the office without harassment or complications. Other days it feels like surrender, like you have agreed to give up self-expression, personality, individuality in exchange for being allowed to work, and you wonder how long you can maintain this performance, how long you can dress like someone else, like no one, like a neutral, competent, entirely replaceable person. How long before you forget what you would wear if the choice were truly yours? Pants for women in the early 60s are still controversial. They're tolerated at home, on weekends, maybe at casual gatherings, but wearing pants to work, to church, to formal events, that is a different story. Women who wear pants are called unfeminine, difficult, trying too hard to be like men. And yet, slowly, quietly, women keep wearing them. Because pants are practical. Because pants let you move. Because pants refuse to apologise. Your first pair of pants is not capris, not pedal pushers, but full-length trousers. You buy them on impulse at a department store drawn to their simple practicality. They are navy blue, slightly tapered at the ankle, with a side zipper and a flat front. When you try them on in the dressing room, you feel a strange sense of freedom. You can move your legs independently. You can sit without thinking about your hem. You can bend without worrying about modesty. But you also feel exposed in a different way. Because pants reveal the shape of your legs, your hips, your body in ways that skirts do not. There is nowhere to hide in pants. Your silhouette is clear, defined, unavoidable. You wear them at home first on a Saturday morning while cleaning the house. They are so practical. You can kneel to scrub floors. You can climb a stepladder to dust high shelves. You can move freely without fabric tangling around your legs or catching on furniture. You wonder why you have not been wearing pants all along. Your husband sees you and stops. Are you going somewhere? No. Just cleaning. In pants? Yes. They are easier. He nods slowly, but you see his confusion. In his world, wives wear dresses at home, skirts for errands, pants only for gardening or other messy outdoor work. The idea of wearing pants casually, for no specific reason other than comfort, does not quite compute. You wear pants to the grocery store on a weekday afternoon, and the glances begin immediately. Older women stare openly. One mutters something to her companion, loud enough for you to hear. Younger women look, with a mixture of curiosity and envy. Men look too, though their gaze feels different, less about judgment and more about assessment. At the checkout line, the cashier, a woman near your mother's age, comments, "Pants today? How modern!" You cannot tell if she means it as a compliment or a criticism. Your mother's reaction is less ambiguous. She sees you wearing pants when you stop by to drop off something you borrowed, and her face tightens. "Are you feeling all right?" she asks, the way she might ask someone running a fever. "I'm fine. I'm just wearing pants." "To go out? In public?" "Yes." She shakes her head slowly. "In my day, women knew how to dress like women. And there it is, the accusation you've been waiting for. That wearing pants makes you less of a woman, that it erases femininity, that it is an attempt to be something you are not. But pants do not make you feel less feminine. They make you feel more capable, more mobile, more like a person who can move through the world without constantly negotiating with fabric. You start wearing pants more often, to run errands, to casual lunches, to weekend outings with your children, and each time you notice the reactions, the stares, the comments, the quiet disapproval. But you also notice something else. Other women starting to wear pants too, slowly, tentatively, testing the boundaries just as you are. At a casual dinner party, you arrive wearing pants and a nice blouse. Another woman is also wearing pants. You exchange glances across the room, a silent acknowledgement. We are doing this. We are claiming this small piece of freedom. But the hostess, an older woman who still wears full skirts and pearls, makes a point of mentioning it. "How interesting that women are wearing pants to dinner parties now," she says, her tone carefully neutral but her meaning clear. And you realise that every time you wear pants you're making a statement. Not necessarily the statement you intend, not necessarily about gender or politics or rebellion, but a statement nonetheless. A statement that says, I value comfort, I value mobility, I value my own choice over your approval. The conversation about pants becomes louder as the decade progresses. Magazine articles debate whether pants are appropriate for women. Television shows feature women in pants, normalising them. Fashion designers create elegant pantsuits, attempting to make pants acceptable for formal occasions, but resistance remains. Some restaurants refuse to seat women in pants. Some schools ban them. Some churches make it clear that pants are not appropriate for worship, and women who insist on wearing them are labelled troublemakers, rebels, women who do not know their place. But you keep wearing them. Because once you've experienced the freedom of pants, of moving through the world without your clothing restricting you, it is hard to go back. Hard to return to skirts that tangle, to dresses that require constant vigilance, to clothing that prioritizes appearance over function. And slowly, quietly, pants stop being controversial and start being normal. Not because everyone approves, but because enough women simply refuse to stop wearing them. What you wear underneath matters just as much as what shows on the surface. Girdles squeeze and shape, transforming natural bodies into acceptable silhouettes. Bullet bras create pointed, structured curves. Garter belts hold up stockings with delicate precision. These undergarments are invisible to the world, but they shape everything. They hurt, they constrict, they take effort to put on and take off. And yet women wear them every single day. Because the alternative, a body that moves freely and naturally, is somehow unacceptable. You learn about girdles from your mother, who wears one every day without complaint. She teaches you how to step into it, how to pull it up over your hips, how to smooth it into place so it sits correctly. The girdle is made of thick elastic and boning, designed to compress your stomach and hips into a smooth, acceptable shape. When you first put one on at age 16, you can barely breathe. Your mother tells you that you will get used to it, that all women wear them, that this is simply what bodies require. But you never quite get used to it. The girdle pinches at your waist, digs into your thighs, makes sitting uncomfortable and bending nearly impossible. It leaves red marks on your skin, indentations that take hours to fade after you finally remove it. You wear it anyway, because a body without a girdle is considered sloppy, unrefined, evidence that you do not care about your appearance. The bullet bra is another form of structured femininity. It does not simply support, it shapes, creating pointed, upward-thrusting breasts that look nothing like natural anatomy. You wear one under your blouses and dresses, and it transforms your silhouette into something angular, geometric, almost aggressive. The bra is uncomfortable, the underwire digging into your ribs, the seams creating strange lumps under thin fabric. But this is the silhouette of the early 60s, and you conform because not conforming means looking different, outdated, wrong. Stockings require their own architecture. You cannot simply pull them on like socks. They must be attached to a garter belt, a contraption of elastic and metal clips that sits around your waist and hips. Every morning you perform the ritual, roll the stockings up your legs, fasten the clips carefully to the stocking tops, adjust everything until it sits correctly. If a clip comes undone during the day, you must find a private place to fix it, reaching under your skirt to reattach the stocking while hoping no one notices. Pantyhose, when they arrive in the mid-60s, feel revolutionary. No garter belt, no clips, just pull them on and go. But your mother disapproves. Pantyhose are casual, she says. Not appropriate for formal occasions. Real ladies wear stockings with garter belts, and so you continue the morning ritual, continue the complicated architecture of undergarments, because real ladies apparently require discomfort to be real. You notice that men do not have these requirements. Your husband pulls on undershorts, an undershirt, and he is done. His undergarments are simple, comfortable, designed for function rather than shaping. He does not spend 30 minutes each morning squeezing into elastic, fastening clips, creating a body shape that society finds acceptable. His body is allowed to exist as it is, but yours is not. Your natural body, soft and curved and human, is considered unacceptable without modification, and so you modify. You compress your stomach with a girdle, you push your breasts into pointed shapes with a bullet bra, you hold up your stockings with clips that dig into your thighs, and you do all of this before you have even put on actual clothing. The undergarments are invisible, but they dictate everything. They dictate how you sit, always carefully, because girdles make bending difficult. They dictate how you move, because garter clips can come undone if you stride too confidently. They dictate your comfort level, because by the end of the day, every piece of elastic and boning has left its mark on your skin. At night, removing the undergarments feels like shedding armour. You peel off the girdle, and your stomach expands, released from compression. You unclasp the bullet bra, and your breasts settle into their natural shape. You unfasten the garter clips and roll down the stockings, and suddenly your legs can move freely. And for a moment, standing in your bedroom in just your slip or nightgown, you remember what your body feels like without architecture, without structure, without constant constraint. But morning comes again, and you put it all back on. Because this is what is expected. This is what bodies require, according to the magazines and the mothers and the quiet understanding that natural bodies are not acceptable bodies. And so you participate in the daily ritual of compression and shaping and structured femininity, creating an acceptable silhouette for a world that has very specific ideas about what women should look like. And you wonder sometimes what it would be like to simply exist, to let your body be shaped like a body rather than like an ideal, to move through the world without elastic and boning and clips digging into your skin, But that is not an option in 1963, so you fasten the clips, you pull up the girdle, you put on the bullet bra, and you shape yourself into something acceptable. By the late 60s, bell-bottoms arrive, flaring wide from the knee down, flowing like fabric waterfalls. They are the opposite of tailored, the opposite of restrained. Bell-bottoms are for hippies, for protesters, for young people rejecting everything their parents built. When you wear bell-bottoms, you're saying, I do not care about your rules, and that makes some people very, very uncomfortable. You see bell-bottoms first on young people in the city, teenagers and college students wearing denim that flares dramatically from the knee, dragging on the ground, fraying at the hem. They pair them with loose blouses, with sandals, with long hair and relaxed postures that suggest they have rejected every notion of propriety you were raised with. They look free. They look like they are not trying to fit in, not trying to be acceptable, not trying at all. And part of you wants that freedom. You buy your first pair in 1968 at a boutique that caters to younger women who are not worried about what their mothers think. The bell-bottoms are denim, faded and soft, flaring dramatically from the knee. When you try them on, they feel strange. The fabric swishes around your calves, heavy and present. You look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. You look young, rebellious, like someone who might attend a protest or listen to music your parents would disapprove of. The salesgirl, maybe 20 years old with long straight hair and a peasant blouse, nods approvingly. Those are perfect, she says. Very groovy. You're not sure you want to be groovy, but you buy them anyway. Wearing bell-bottoms at home, you catch your husband staring. What are those? He asks, genuine confusion in his voice. Bell-bottoms? For what? For wearing. He shakes his head slowly. You look like a teenager, and you realize that is part of the appeal. Bell-bottoms erase age, erase the markers of respectability and responsibility that define your normal wardrobe. In bell-bottoms, you could be anyone. You could be someone who does not have a mortgage and children and a carefully maintained reputation. You could be someone still figuring things out, still experimenting, still free, but wearing bell-bottoms outside your home is different. You pair them with a simple blouse and sandals, and you walk to the corner store. People stare. An older man shakes his head, mutters something about hippies. A group of teenagers smiles, gives you a peace sign, assumes you are one of them. Your mother sees you in bell-bottoms when you stop by her house, and her reaction is immediate. What on earth are you wearing? Bell-bottoms. They are fashionable. Fashionable for whom? For people who do not want jobs? For people protesting in the streets? For young people, you say, quietly. You're not that young anymore, she replies. And the comment stings because she is right. You're not 19. You're not in college. You're a married woman with responsibilities and a reputation and a place in your community. And bell-bottoms, your mother is saying without saying, are not appropriate for someone like you. But you wear them anyway. Not often, not to formal occasions, but on weekends, on casual outings, on days when you want to feel different than you usually do. And each time you notice the divide. Younger people accept you, assume you're sympathetic to their causes, their music, their rejection of traditional values. Older people disapprove, see the bell-bottoms as evidence of moral decline, of good people making bad choices, and you realize that bell-bottoms are not just pants. They are political. They announce allegiance to a movement you may not entirely understand, to values you may not fully share. They mark you as countercultural, anti-establishment, someone who has rejected the American dream your parents worked so hard to achieve. But bell-bottoms also feel like breathing. After years of tailored skirts and structured dresses and clothing that demanded you conform to specific shapes and silhouettes, bell-bottoms let you exist loosely. They flow, they move, they do not require you to be anything other than comfortable. Your friend, the one who still wears shirtwaist dresses and Peter Pan collars, asks why you're wearing bell-bottoms. Are you going through something? She asks, genuine concern in her voice. No, you say. I just like them. But she looks unconvinced, because in her world, and perhaps in yours, women do not change their clothing without reason. Clothing reflects stability, consistency, adherence to appropriate standards. Changing your clothing means changing something deeper, questioning things you're not supposed to question. And maybe she's right. Maybe wearing bell-bottoms is about more than fabric. Maybe it is about testing boundaries, about seeing what happens when you stop trying to be appropriate and start trying to be comfortable. Maybe it is about claiming a small piece of the freedom you see in younger people, the freedom to reject, to question, to say no to rules that feel increasingly arbitrary. You wear the bell-bottoms to a concert in the park, and for the first time you do not feel out of place. Everyone around you is wearing bell-bottoms or something equally casual, equally flowing. No one is worried about propriety or appropriateness. They're just wearing clothes that let them move, let them sit on grass, let them be comfortable. And you realise this is what bell-bottoms represent. Not just rebellion, not just rejection, but comfort, freedom. The radical idea that clothing should serve the wearer rather than the audience. And maybe that is revolutionary enough. A cocktail dress in the 60s is glamour distilled into fabric. It is what you wear to evening parties, to dinners with your husband's boss, to charity galas. The dress is elegant but not too sexy, sophisticated but not intimidating. It strikes a perfect balance, making you beautiful without making anyone nervous. But cocktail dresses also demand performance. You must smile, you must charm, you must be ornamental. And sometimes, halfway through the evening, you forget who you are underneath the dress. You own 2 cocktail dresses, one in black, simple and elegant with a bateau neckline and 3/4 sleeves, one in emerald green, more daring, with a lower neckline and a fitted waist that emphasizes curves. The black dress is for occasions when you need to be sophisticated. The green dress is for occasions when you need to be noticed. Putting on a cocktail dress is different from putting on daytime clothing. The dress requires more: full makeup, styled hair, elegant jewellery, the right shoes. You cannot simply slip it on. You must build toward it, transforming yourself from everyday wife and mother into someone worthy of evening glamour. The transformation takes an hour, sometimes more. Foundation smoothed carefully over your skin, lipstick applied precisely, hair teased and sprayed into careful waves, earrings, bracelet, the strand of pearls that makes everything look complete, and finally the dress itself, zipped carefully, fabric settling against your shaped and prepared body. When you look in the mirror, you see someone else, someone polished, elegant, ready to be admired. But you also see someone performing, someone who has put on a character along with the dress. And you wonder briefly, who is underneath all this preparation? Your husband compliments you. You look beautiful, he says, and you hear the pride in his voice. Pride that his wife looks appropriate, that she will reflect well on him at the party, that she understands how to present herself in professional social settings. At the party, you become what the cocktail dress demands. You smile warmly at strangers, you make pleasant conversation, you laugh at jokes that are not particularly funny. You ask interested questions about other people's lives while revealing little about your own. You hold your wine glass elegantly, sip slowly, make sure your lipstick does not smudge. You're ornamental, decorative, perfectly pleasant. The cocktail dress has transformed you into an accessory, something beautiful that accompanies your husband, that makes him look successful, that suggests he has good taste and a well-managed home. Other women at the party are wearing cocktail dresses too. You recognise the performance in them, the careful way they hold themselves, the way they laugh with their mouths but not their eyes. All of you are performing the same role, competing gently for who can be the most elegant, the most charming, the most perfectly ornamental. Halfway through the evening, someone's husband makes a comment about politics. You have opinions about politics, strong ones, but cocktail dresses do not allow for strong opinions. So you smile vaguely, say something non-committal, and redirect the conversation to safer topics. Later, standing in a corner while your husband talks business with colleagues, you realize how exhausting this is. The constant performance, the smiling, the careful modulation of everything you say and do, the awareness that you're being observed, assessed, judged not for your intelligence or your ideas, but for how well you play the role of gracious wife. The cocktail dress, beautiful as it is, feels like a costume, and you are tired of performing. On the drive, home, your husband is pleased. "You were wonderful tonight," he says. "Everyone commented on how lovely you looked." But no one commented on what you said, on what you thought, on who you actually are underneath the dress and the makeup and the carefully performed charm. And you realize that is the point. The cocktail dress is not meant to reveal you. It is meant to conceal you, to transform you into something decorative and pleasant and entirely unthreatening, something beautiful to look at but not to listen to. At home, you unzip the cocktail dress carefully, hang it back in the closet. You remove the jewelry, wash off the makeup, take down your hair, and slowly, the performance ends. The woman in the mirror becomes familiar again, tired but real, stripped of glamour but also stripped of pretense. You wonder how many more evenings you can perform this way, how many more times you can put on the cocktail dress and become someone decorative, someone pleasant, someone who has learned to disappear behind elegance. The dress hangs in your closet, waiting for the next occasion. Beautiful, elegant, perfectly tailored, and perfectly hollow. Hemlines in the 1960s are not just fashion, they are battlegrounds. Every inch above the knee is a negotiation, a test of how much freedom a woman can claim before society pushes back. Shorter hemlines mean modernity, liberation, youth. Longer hemlines mean tradition, modesty, respectability. And women are caught in the middle, measuring their skirts against the expectations of parents, employers, churches, and their own desires for something different. You own a measuring tape and you use it more than you would like to admit. Not for sewing, but for checking hemlines. For making sure your skirts fall at the acceptable distance from your knee. That magical measurement that separates appropriate from scandalous. In 1962, that distance is exactly at the knee or slightly below. By 1965, it has crept up an inch. By 1967, some women are wearing skirts 3, 4, even 5 inches above the knee, and the world is quietly losing its mind. You watch the hemlines rise with a mixture of fascination and anxiety. Each new fashion magazine shows skirts getting shorter. Each new television appearance features actresses in dresses that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. And you stand in front of your mirror with your measuring tape, trying to decide how much you dare. Your mother measures in values. A hemline at the knee is respectable. An inch above is modern but acceptable. 2 inches above is questionable. 3 inches is asking for trouble. 4 inches is an announcement that you have lost your sense of propriety, that you're trying to attract the wrong kind of attention, that you have forgotten who you are supposed to be. But hemlines are rising whether mothers approve or not. Young women are claiming their legs as their own, refusing to hide them under yards of fabric, insisting that knees and thighs are not inherently scandalous. And each shorter hemline feels like a small revolution, a quiet declaration that women's bodies belong to women, not to the men and institutions that have always controlled how much of those bodies are allowed to be visible. You buy a skirt that ends 2 inches above your knee. It feels daring, borderline inappropriate, but also exhilarating. You wear it to lunch with a friend, and you feel every eye that lands on your exposed legs. Some eyes approve, some disapprove, but all of them notice, because 2 inches of extra leg is not nothing. 2 inches is a statement. At church, the pastor begins mentioning modesty in his sermons. He does not say hemlines directly, but everyone knows. The older women nod approvingly. The younger women shift in their pews, suddenly aware of their skirts, their legs, their bodies being discussed in spiritual terms. And you realize that even your hemline is subject to moral judgment, that the distance between fabric and knee is somehow connected to your virtue, your character, your worthiness. Your employer notices too. The office implements a dress code written down for the first time. Skirts must fall no more than 2 inches above the knee. It is presented as professionalism, as maintaining appropriate standards, but everyone understands it is about control, about making sure women do not claim too much freedom, too much visibility, too much ownership of their own bodies. You comply at work wearing longer skirts, measuring carefully each morning, but on weekends you wear shorter ones. You test the boundaries. You walk through the grocery store with 3 inches of thigh showing and dare anyone to say something directly to your face. Usually they do not. They just stare, whisper to companions, make their disapproval known through glances rather than words. Your husband has opinions about hemlines too. He likes you in shorter skirts, but not too short. He likes other men noticing you're attractive, but not too much. He likes modernity, but not at the expense of respectability. You exist in a narrow band of acceptability, and hemlines are just one more way that band is measured and enforced. At a family gathering, your younger sister arrives wearing a miniskirt a full 4 inches above her knee. Your mother's face tightens. Your father looks away, uncomfortable. Your aunts exchange glances, and your sister, 19 and defiant, sits down without apology, her legs crossed, her hemline making a statement louder than anything she says all evening. And you realize that hemlines have become generational warfare. The older generation sees short skirts as evidence of moral decline, of young people rejecting the values that built this country. The younger generation sees them as freedom, as refusing to be ashamed of their bodies, as claiming space and visibility they have always been denied. You're caught between. Too old to be truly young, too young to be truly traditional. Your hemlines hover in the middle ground, trying to please everyone, trying to be modern without being rebellious, trying to claim some freedom without losing respectability. But the middle ground is exhausting. Because no matter where your hemline falls, someone has an opinion. Someone thinks it is too short or too long, too modern or too outdated, too much or not enough. Your body, or at least the amount of it visible beneath your skirt, is public property, subject to constant assessment and judgment. And you are tired of measuring, tired of negotiating, tired of your legs being a political statement you never intended to make. So some days, you wear what you want. You choose a hemline based on comfort, on mood, on what feels right for you rather than what feels right for everyone watching. And if people stare, if they disapprove, if they judge, well, maybe that is their problem, not yours. A headscarf tied under the chin is practical, yes, but it is also coded. It signals domesticity. A woman who drives to the grocery store with curlers still in her hair. A woman who is too busy managing a household to worry about glamour. Headscarves are what mothers wear, what wives wear, what women wear when they have stopped trying to be anything other than functional. And yet, some women love their headscarves. They are soft, they are easy, they are honest. You own several headscarves, folded neatly in your dresser drawer. One in a cheerful floral pattern, one in polka dots, one in a solid navy blue for when you want to look slightly more put together. They are made of silk or cotton, square and versatile, designed to cover hair that is not ready for public viewing. You wear a headscarf on Saturday mornings when you drive to the grocery store with curlers still pinned in your hair. The curlers need time to set, to create the waves and volume expected for Sunday church and any other occasions where your hair must look carefully styled. But Saturday errands cannot wait for beauty, so you tie the scarf under your chin, covering the rows of pink foam cylinders, and head out into the world half finished. The headscarf marks you immediately. It announces that you are in the middle of something, not quite ready, not quite presentable. It says you are a housewife running errands, a mother managing logistics, a woman for whom glamour is a sometime thing rather than a constant state. And there is something freeing in that. The headscarf gives you permission to be seen in process, to be imperfect, to prioritize function over form. But the headscarf also embarrasses you slightly. When you run into someone you know at the store, someone whose hair is styled and perfect, you feel the difference acutely. You touch the scarf self-consciously, aware that you look domestic, harried, caught between states. The other woman, the one with perfect hair, exists in a state of completion. You exist in a state of becoming. Your mother wore headscarves constantly. Not just on Saturday mornings, but most days, tied neatly under her chin while she cleaned, cooked, managed the endless tasks of running a household. Her headscarves were practical, almost utilitarian, more about protecting her hair from dust and cooking smells than about fashion. And you remember thinking, as a teenager, that you would never be like that. You would never be the woman in the headscarf, the woman who had stopped caring about how she looked, who had surrendered glamour in favour of efficiency. But here you are, headscarf tied under your chin, curlers hidden underneath, grocery cart filling with the mundane necessities of family life. You have become your mother. The realization hits you in the cereal aisle, and you stand there for a moment, hand on a box of cornflakes, understanding that somewhere along the way you crossed a line. You stopped being the girl who spent hours on her appearance and became the woman who wears headscarves to the store. You stopped prioritizing beauty and started prioritizing function. You stopped performing glamour and started performing domesticity. And you are not sure how you feel about that. Some women elevate the headscarf. Movie stars wear them in convertibles, large dark sunglasses perched on their noses, scarves tied elegantly at the side rather than under the chin. Their headscarves suggest mystery, European sophistication, a kind of casual glamour that manages to look effortless and expensive simultaneously. But your headscarf does not look like that. Your headscarf looks exactly like what it is. A practical covering for a woman with curlers in her hair who needs to buy milk. Your daughter, when she's old enough to notice, asks why you wear the scarf. Because my hair is not ready, you explain. Why not wait until it is ready? Because there are things that need doing now. And you hear the lesson you're teaching her, the one you did not intend but cannot avoid. That women's needs come last. That appearance must be sacrificed for household management. That being ready, truly ready, is a luxury women cannot always afford. At the grocery store you see other women in headscarves. You exchange small, knowing smiles, a silent acknowledgement that you're all in this together, all managing the impossible balance between looking acceptable and getting things done. The headscarves mark you as members of the same club, the club of women who have learned that perfection is impossible and that sometimes good enough is all you can manage. But you also see younger women, women your age or slightly younger, who never wear headscarves, whose hair is always styled, always ready, always perfect, and you wonder how they do it, how they manage to look polished while also managing households and children and all the endless tasks that fill your days. Or maybe they do not manage. Maybe they have simply made different choices about what matters. The headscarf, you realize, is a choice about priorities, a choice about where to spend your limited time and energy. And while it is practical, while it makes your life easier in some ways, it is also a visible marker of surrender. Surrender to domesticity. Surrender to the reality that glamour and household management are often incompatible. Surrender to the truth that you cannot be both perfectly groomed and perfectly functional. On Sunday morning, you remove the headscarf, take out the curlers, brush your hair into soft waves. You look put together, polished, ready for church and social interaction. No one would guess that yesterday you were the woman in the headscarf, the woman buying groceries with foam cylinders in her hair. But you were, and you will be again next Saturday. Because the headscarf is honest. It reveals the work, the process, the reality underneath the polished exterior. It admits that beauty is not natural, that it requires effort and time and occasionally looking unfinished in public. And maybe that is its real power, not mystery or glamour or European sophistication, but simple, unglamorous, practical honesty. Jeans in the early 60s are work clothes, farm clothes, the kind of thing men wear when they're building something. But by the mid-60s, young women start wearing jeans too, and it feels revolutionary. Jeans are comfortable, durable, unisex. They erase the boundaries between male and female clothing, and that makes people nervous. Because if a woman can wear jeans, what else might she claim? The first time you see a woman wearing jeans in public, you stare. It is 1965 and you are downtown running errands. The woman is young, maybe 20, with long hair and a casual confidence that suggests she does not care what anyone thinks. Her jeans are faded denim, slightly loose, rolled at the ankle. She pairs them with a simple t-shirt and sandals, and she looks free in a way you have never seen a woman look before. Free from performance, free from femininity as costume, free from the constant work of looking like a lady. You do not buy jeans right away. They feel too radical, too much like something you do not have permission to wear. Jeans are what your husband wears on weekends when he's working in the yard. Jeans are what teenage boys wear, their rebellion sewn into denim. Jeans are not for women, especially not married women with reputations to maintain and neighbours who notice everything. But the image stays with you. The woman in jeans moving through the world with such ease. By 1967, more women are wearing jeans, not everywhere, not to church or formal occasions, but casually on weekends, to run errands or meet friends. The sight of women in denim becomes less shocking, more normal, though still tinged with rebellion. And you start to wonder what it would feel like. So you buy a pair at a store that caters to younger customers, where the salesgirl does not judge your age or your obvious hesitation. The jeans are stiff at first, dark indigo denim that needs breaking in. You take them home, hide them in the back of your closet, uncertain when or if you will ever actually wear them. The first time you put them on, you're alone in your bedroom, your husband at work, your children at school. You pull the jeans over your hips, button the fly, zip the zipper. They fit snugly, conforming to your body in a way that feels both strange and natural. You look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. You look young. You look casual. You look like someone who does not spend her days performing respectability. You wear them around the house for an hour, getting used to the feeling. The jeans are comfortable in a way that skirts and dresses are not. They allow complete freedom of movement. You can sit cross-legged. You can bend and kneel and reach without thinking about modesty or hemlines or fabric riding up. The jeans simply exist on your body, functional and undemanding. But wearing jeans outside is different. You try it on a Saturday afternoon, just a quick trip to the hardware store for light bulbs. You pair the jeans with a blouse, as if a feminine top might soften the radicalism of denim. And you walk out of your house feeling exposed despite being more covered than you ever are in a dress. The stares are immediate. An older couple looks you up and down, the woman's mouth tightening in disapproval. A group of teenage boys whistle, making comments you do not quite hear but can guess the nature of. A neighbour trimming her hedges stops working to watch you walk to your car, her expression carefully neutral but her judgment clear. At the hardware store, the clerk does a double take. "Can I help you, miss?" he asks, and you realise the genes have made him uncertain of your status. Miss, not ma'am. As if genes have erased your marriage, your age, your place in the adult world. You buy the light bulbs and leave quickly, feeling everyone's eyes on you. At home, your husband sees the jeans. His reaction is quiet confusion. "Are those mine?" he asks. "No, they are mine." "Since when do you wear jeans?" "Since today." He does not forbid them, but his discomfort is obvious. He married a woman who wore dresses and skirts, who understood feminine presentation, who looked like a wife. The jeans transform you into something else, something he is not sure how to categorize. But you keep wearing them. Not often, not everywhere, but in small increments of rebellion. To the park with your children, where jeans make sense for playing on the ground. To casual weekend gatherings where other women are starting to wear them too. To moments when you need the freedom that denim provides, the permission to move without thinking, to exist without performing. Your mother's reaction is less restrained. When she sees you in jeans, her face registers something close to grief. "This is what we have come to," she asks. "Women dressing like men?" "They're just pants," you say. "They're not just pants. They're a statement. They're a rejection of everything I taught you about being a woman." And maybe she's right. Maybe jeans are a rejection of the idea that women must always be decorative, always feminine in traditional ways, always performing a specific kind of womanhood that prioritizes appearance over comfort. Maybe wearing jeans is saying, "I refuse. I refuse to be uncomfortable. I refuse to be restricted. I refuse to let clothing limit what I can do." By the late 60s, jeans on women are becoming normalized. Not universally accepted, but common enough that people stop staring quite as intensely. Department stores start carrying women's jeans, sized and cut for female bodies. Fashion magazines feature denim as casual chic rather than workwear. But resistance remains. Some schools ban jeans for female students. Some restaurants refuse to seat women wearing them. Some families make it clear that jeans are not appropriate for women who respect themselves, and yet women keep wearing them. Because once you experience the freedom of jeans, once you move through the world unencumbered by fabric designed to restrict, it is impossible to go back. The jeans hang in your closet now, faded from washing, soft from wear. They are no longer a costume or a rebellion. They are simply clothing. Comfortable, practical, honest clothing that lets you exist in your body without apology. And maybe that is the most revolutionary thing of all. Evening gloves, long and elegant, climbing past the elbow, are the height of formal femininity. You wear them to opera houses, to weddings, to any event where elegance is required. They make you feel like royalty, like someone important, someone worth looking at. But evening gloves also restrict. You cannot eat easily. You cannot touch freely. You cannot forget they are there. And when the evening ends and you peel them off, your arms feel strange, exposed, too much. Your evening gloves are white satin, reaching nearly to your shoulders when worn. They came in a special box, wrapped in tissue paper, purchased for your first formal event after your wedding. Your mother-in-law insisted you needed them, that attending the charity ball without proper gloves would be inappropriate, embarrassing, evidence that you did not understand the standards of polite society. The gloves cost more than you wanted to spend on something you would wear for just a few hours. But you bought them, understanding that some expenses are not about practicality, but about signalling that you belong, that you understand the codes, that you can perform elegance when required. Putting on evening gloves is a ritual. Your hands must be clean, dry, free of any lotion that might stain the satin. You powder them lightly to help the gloves slide on more easily. Then you begin the slow process of pulling each glove up your arm, smoothing the fabric, making sure there are no wrinkles or bunching. The gloves fit tightly, conforming to every curve of your hand and forearm. By the time you finish, your arms feel encased, elegant but immobilized. The first time you wore them to that charity ball, you felt transformed. The gloves made you look sophisticated, polished, like someone who belonged in a ballroom surrounded by wealth and elegance. You moved carefully, aware of your arms, aware of how the gloves changed your gestures, made every movement more deliberate, more graceful. But evening gloves also complicate everything. Holding a champagne glass requires care, the smooth satin sliding against smooth glass. Eating is nearly impossible. You must navigate tiny appetizers with gloved fingers that cannot quite grip properly, that make every interaction with food awkward and precarious. You watch other women at these events, all in their gloves, all carefully managing the same challenges, all performing elegance despite the impracticality. Dancing in evening gloves feels strange. Your partner's hand rests against satin rather than skin, creating a barrier between you. There is no warmth, no direct touch, just fabric meeting fabric. The gloves transform even intimate moments into something formal, distant, performed. Halfway through the evening, your arms begin to ache. The gloves are tight, cutting off circulation slightly, making your fingers tingle. You want to remove them, to give your arms a moment of freedom, but you cannot. Evening gloves must stay on for the duration of the event. Removing them early signals that you are leaving, that you are finished, that the evening is over. So you endure. You keep the gloves on through dinner, through dancing, through hours of polite conversation and careful movement. And all the while, you're aware of your arms in a way you never are normally. You feel the restriction, the tightness, the weight of satin that is somehow both weightless and oppressive. Other women at the event wear gloves too, some in white like yours, some in black, some in colours that match their gowns. All of you are performing the same ritual of elegant restriction. All of you have agreed to be beautiful in ways that make simple actions complicated. You notice that men do not wear gloves, except occasionally thin white ones that end at the wrist. Their hands are free to eat, to drink, to touch without barrier. They navigate the evening with ease while women navigate in satin. When the event finally ends, when you return home in the early hours of morning, the first thing you do is remove the gloves. You peel them off slowly, carefully, inside out so as not to damage the satin. And when your arms are finally bare, they feel strange, too exposed, too vulnerable, like they have forgotten how to exist without covering. You flex your fingers, rub your forearms where the gloves left faint marks. The sensation of uncovered skin is almost shocking after hours of satin. Your arms are pale, slightly indented from the tight fabric, marked by the performance of elegance. You store the gloves carefully, rolling them gently, returning them to their tissue-lined box. They will wait there until the next formal event, the next occasion that demands this particular kind of performance, and you realize that evening gloves are like so much of formal femininity, beautiful to look at, uncomfortable to wear, designed to transform you into something elegant but restricted, something admired but unable to fully participate. The gloves sit in your drawer, pristine and waiting, and you're not sure whether you love them or resent them, maybe both. And just like that, we have walked through a decade in fabric and thread, through shirtwaist dresses and miniskirts, through white gloves and go-go boots, through the quiet negotiations women made every morning between who they were and who the world expected them to be. We have stood in closets measuring hemlines, sat in church pews arranging full skirts, stepped into jeans for the first time, and felt what it meant to move freely. We have watched a generation of women learn that clothing was never just clothing, that every choice they made, every inch of hemline, every colour, every silhouette, was a conversation with a world that had very strong opinions about how women should look, move, and exist. The women of the 1960s were not revolutionaries in the way we sometimes imagine. Most of them were simply trying to get through their days with grace and dignity. They wore what was expected until it became unbearable, and then quietly, carefully, they began to wear something else. They tested boundaries 1 inch of hemline at a time. They claimed comfort 1 pair of pants at a time. They whispered to their daughters that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. So tonight, as you settle deeper into your blankets, think about those women standing in front of their closets each morning, making choices that felt small but carried weight. Think about the courage it took to wear what felt right instead of what felt safe. Think about how change happens slowly, in private bedrooms and public sidewalks, in the space between what is and what could be. And maybe tomorrow